So we're joined all the way from Fort Worth, Texas, by the Interim Dean of the Neeley School of Business at Texas Christian University, Dr. Hettie Richardson. We thank you so much for joining us today. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School, and we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools: Rosa Scott, Madison Central, Germantown High School, Ridgeland High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. And we're in the education and training career cluster, but we've also been in a lot of other things that you cover. And it's cool because I've had probably 30 former students in this program, but I've never had a former teacher. So for the first time ever, I have one of my former teachers join us live via the internet.
So excited. So let me just say, this is the thing I have been looking most forward to all week long.
I love it. Now, before we get into all you do at the Neeley School of Business, because you guys are doing some great work, and we want to talk about what students would study in business. Take us back on your background. You went to the University of Houston, then you got 2 degrees from University of Georgia, and then we crossed paths at LSU. So you've been in the Big 12 and the SEC. So take us a little bit about your educational path getting to where you are.
Hey, yeah. So this is a little bit of a story. So and I don't know if I've ever even told you this. So when most of my life, I thought I wanted to go into some kind of artistic career. And when I started college, I started as an architecture major. Did
Oh.
that for a year and a half, but what I discovered was I really hated being creative on demand. It just kind of took the joy out of it. And so then all of a sudden, I had absolutely no earthly idea what I wanted to do with my life. And I had a faculty member who I went and talked to, and he said, take some time and just, you know, experiment, take classes that sound interesting to you, and just see what's out there and see what you were like. And I was very blessed. I was able to do that, and took a class called The Sociology of Work. And we read this book called Men and Women of the Corporation. And I'd never read anything like that before in my life. And I said, I want to write books like that when I grow up. I've still never written a book, just by the way, but But, and I thought at the time, like, I thought business was only accounting. I thought it was only finance. I didn't know that there was this people side to business too, the human resource management part, the organizational behavior part, the leadership part. And so but I love that book, and I decided to get my master's in organizational psychology. That's where I went to grad school at Georgia with the intention of doing that. And then I had this right decision I had to make as I finished up my master's. Do My assumption was that I was going to go on and I was going to go into industry and like get a job, as a consultant or something like that. But I had a lot of people say, why don't you continue on and get your doctoral degree? And after a lot of thought, I decided to do that. And yeah, got my doctoral degree in management and came to LSU and was there for 12 years and got to meet some amazing people and teach some amazing students. And then ended up now at TCU.
Yeah, and you guys are on the forefront of a lot of business education. And and you were recently named one of the top 500 business leaders in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Dallas CEO magazine, which is incredible. Now, when it comes to college professors, a lot of people think that all you do is you stand up and lecture for 3 hours, and that's all that happens. But especially at these larger universities, there is a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that that people don't see. Because I hear people all the time tell me, "Oh, yeah, I want to be a teacher, but I want to teach college because they don't work that much." And I was like, "You are smoking something because that is not true." So, tell us a little about what a schedule is like for a college professor, because depending on what you're teaching, you may be asked to do a lot of extra things.
Oh, absolutely. So first let me say, right, a university, and this is going to be true of your schools too, right? business is. And it's not that you're in that business to make a profit, but right, you've got financial responsibility, you've got people who work for you, you have a product you deliver. And there's a lot of complexity to that. And the interesting thing when you get to the college level is in some ways you're also kind of a small city because you have people who live on campus and eat on campus and you're responsible for their safety and security 24 hours a day. So like anything that you would have to do to run a city, anything you would have to do to run a business, that all happens at a university too. Um, and so for most faculty though, what they're aside from teaching what they do, they are focused on really creating the product that the university delivers, the education. And so designing curriculum, changing the curriculum, making sure that you're up to date on whatever the knowledge is that's, changing in the world. Um, right? Making sure that students have classes to schedule and go to when they get to the fall and there's somebody standing up there teaching them. Um, but also, this is something that a lot of people don't know, I think, about university professors is not all positions, but some positions also have a research component. And people are also often like, why the heck do y'all have to do research? Why aren't you just there teaching? And the way I always describe it is if you look at what's in textbooks, that knowledge had to come from somewhere. Where does it come from? It comes from people doing research. And so that's why universities have their faculty doing that too.
Yeah, and then and I've talked about this with several of our guests. It's not just the educational aspect, even though the GPA is important. And I know you guys do a great job of this at TCU, and then the late great Robert Justice did a great job of this at LSU as well. Is that providing student organizations, providing networking opportunities, providing internships. Because one of the coolest things that I remember at LSU was when I got to meet Todd Graves, the founder of Raising Cane's. So, getting to have the opportunities to network with people like that, and I tell all these kids, no matter where they go to college, whether it's community college, a small college, large state university, no matter what they major in, the GPA and educational aspect is not the only thing that's important in college. Being involved in student organizations, and I know you guys over there at Neeley, you had a student talk about, I did 3 internships before I graduated. So not only does he have networking, he has work experience, so he is even more competitive as a student coming out of college.
I think this is truer now more than ever. It was true when you were in college, but it's even more so. Obviously, the educational part is really important, but I would just say when you're looking at a university and where do I want to go, the extent to which it has those student organizations, to which it has career development support and mentoring opportunities, that's the kind of place where you're going to get the most bang for your buck in terms of what you're able to do when you leave.
Absolutely, because we hear all the time about colleges are scams and all, and in some cases it can be, but it's all what you make of it. Because if you're in a great program where you're getting a skill and a degree you can use across several fields, like a business degree, you've got to be able to sell. You've got to be able to network. And I know you're big on the organizational management and international business, learning to work with other types of people. I can
Yeah.
speak for all the teachers that'll see this later. And the kids are here with me now. I've got some brilliant kids in this room with me right now, but they hum and haw and get mad when they have to work with certain people. And I'm like, look, it's not to be mean. You got to work with people you don't like. You got to learn to work with different types of people. If you're going to be successful in any type of business, you've got to be able to work across different beliefs, different backgrounds, different attitudes. Because at the end of the day, and I always talk about, I had a coworker I hated. I'll say point blank, I hated knowing I had to go to work with her. But it was either work with her or not have a job.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I often say that I think 90% of what I do is conflict management, like as interim dean, conflict management and and yeah, just relationship development, and negotiation because it's like people do in everything, people see the world differently. And yeah, nothing can be done all on your own. You've got to work with others.
Yeah, and I know something that you guys do there at the Neeley School of Business, and I thought it was really cool because you guys have degrees and several things that we've talked about. We've gone through finance and how important financial people are in businesses. We've gone through marketing and how important sales is, and we've talked about entrepreneurship. Now, you hear a lot of arguments saying, "Well, you don't need to go to college to be an entrepreneur." That may be the case, but here's what entrepreneurs always say: "I had a great concept, but I didn't know how to run a business." So getting is, I think that's important to differentiate. You may not need to go to college to have your concept, but getting a great business education on how to operate a business can be extremely, extremely important. And then on top of that, the networking skills you would have.
And definitely people out in this world who, go out, start their own business, have not the first day of any kind of college education and are hugely successful. That's the harder way to do it. And exactly as you said, um, yeah, it's not just what you learn in the classroom, but the people you meet and the connections and, right, just connecting you to people who would be willing to invest in your business is a huge part of what you get through the college education.
Yeah, and we have a guest of this class, and I always get cracked up at this. She is the only black female GI doctor in the state of Mississippi. And she went to medical school, learned how to take care of patients, knew all about how to diagnose everything that was wrong with somebody's stomach, but she had no idea how to run a business. And she said that first year I was clueless. I wish that I had some type of business education. And I said if I had anything to do over, I would have at least gone and taken some business classes at a community college to learn how to run a business.
I will just say I am obviously I'm biased, but I think any student can benefit from a business background. And so even if you major in something completely different, get a minor in business or in entrepreneurship because
Yeah.
because every job you do is a business to some extent.
Yeah, and I know you guys have that business information system degree at TCU, and we have a couple students here I know for a fact have told me they want to get into the IT business. So how many, a business information degree could be great because you're getting the IT and technology side and you're getting the business side. Because we have said from the beginning of this class, if you can talk and you can sell and you can market, you can be successful in any type of business.
It's so true. And I will just tell you what employers tell us about students they hire from TCU. One of the things that they really love about them, you said they can talk or sell, right? So our students, that's one of the things we really focus on. And it's not just in the classroom, it's outside the classroom too. Their presentation skills, their teamwork skills, their ability to brand themselves for an employer and not just get that first job, but get the first promotion and the second promotion and the third promotion. Um, right. So any place that can give you that, yeah, you're going to walk out the door and you're going to be able to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and we have people say, look, if you can market, you can sell, we can find a place for you in any type of business. And and I think on the college level and on the high school level, these kids get mad about so many things we ask them to do. There is always a reason that we are asking them to do something. Because I remember the presentation that I had for you in compensation administration. That was very difficult, and I've always been comfortable speaking, but everybody in my group was not. So it was having to work together to come up with a way to present things that everybody can understand it. And I have kids all the time. Why do I got to get up and talk? Well, you don't have to be a public speaker, but even if you're going to be able to do somebody's hair, if you're going to be a trade person, businesses and employers want people that can sell what they are offering because you can have the best product in the world. You can't talk to people or talk to a customer. It's all a moot point.
Is so very, very true. And I would just like to throw a plug out for educators everywhere. Yes, there is a reason why we ask students to do the things we ask them to do. It's not just to be mean.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, with your credentials, and I mean, and we don't have time to rattle off all the awards that you've won because I'll put your resume up against anybody's. But I think it's important. I have kids all the time say, "I want to work with people. I want to make a difference." Getting an education, whether it be on the early childhood, whether it be on the high school or the collegiate level, you really have that chance because you can be an expert in your field, but you can also mold people into becoming successful as you've become. And I really think that's because all the negative aspects we hear in the news, but being in the education field of any type can be so rewarding, not just for you, but for the people that you get to, people you get to help.
So some people in education might think what I'm about to say is horrible, but when I walk into a classroom, so like if I walk into compensation management, yes, I want to teach you about compensation management, but that's not my real goal when I'm in there. My real goal is to help you become the best person that you can possibly be, and for you to be able to achieve the goals that you want in life. And if you walk out and you don't know anything about compensation management, but you're able to do that, then I'm actually pretty happy with that outcome.
Hey.
And that's the best thing is and then you have these connections with students that and I know you experienced this too, that you've now known for a very, very long time. And to be able to say, right, they had to do all the hard work themselves, but to say, okay, at least I know I was there and I was able to support and encourage. That's just one of the best feelings in the world.
Yeah, and then one of my favorite former students, we had a great conversation the other day, and she was talking. She wants to teach in the healthcare field, and she said, "I'm doing this, but I want it to lead to this because I can talk about it all day long, but if I don't actually do it, it's all just dreams." And I said, "That sounds like something I would say." And she goes, "Yeah, you did say that." So being able to hear those types of things for anybody in education, whether they want to, my mother does adult education, whether it is teaching people how to get a license in a professional setting, teaching on the college level, high school, the early childhood level, helping somebody learn how to read. It's extremely rewarding because of the investment you make in people that you come in contact with.
Absolutely.
Now, obviously, we got to talk about the Neeley School of Business because you guys have done some incredible stuff there, and top 25 top 25 business school in the United States. And I've been to TCU's campus, absolutely beautiful campus right there in the heart of Fort Worth. But you guys have degrees just for undergrad off the top of my head, marketing, finance, uh, management information systems, and entrepreneurship. So
Mhm.
you really are covering a wide plethora
Mhm.
of business education. And all of those can cover, you can get a taste of all of them, even if you specialize in one. So why is that well-rounded business education at Neeley really preparing people in all over the world to be successful?
So honestly, I think right, I think this is actually even going to become more important. Um because like let's go back to business information systems. Almost every job in the business world right now has a technology component to it. Or even if you aren't the one that has to program it or do it or whatever, you still have to understand it. Still a good chance that the product that your company produces depends on it. And so, right, everybody needs some of that, even if they're an accountant or a finance major or a marketing major. Marketing is right, digital marketing right now is such a big thing. And so, right, you do need a little bit of all of that. And especially as you progress up through an organization, I think a lot of students think, oh, when I graduate, if I've got a degree in accounting, then I'm going to be an accountant. And that's what I'm going to be for the rest of my life. Or I'm going to be a marketer. And that's what I'm going to be for the rest of my life. Probably not, actually. And especially as you move up in an organization, and if you want to move up in an organization, you've got to really understand all the different areas of business. You can't just be an expert in one.
Absolutely. And because the people that that move up in any industry are the ones that know a little about a lot.
Yep,
The ones that know a lot about a little, they maybe do well in that one area, but the ones that move up in any organization are the ones that are at least uh, versed, not maybe not well versed, but versed in so many areas. Now, before I get to the students'
absolutely.
questions, one thing we got to talk about because we have so many first generation Americans in our school district. And I know a passion of yours is international relations, working with people from other countries. And that's something I really enjoy too. I got to show you my map I've made. Every time I have a Uber rider from a different country, I fill out the map and I'm at 73 different countries that I've ridden in my car at
Wow,
some
that's
point. And
awesome.
amazing conversations. But the face of our country is changing, the people in our country are changing, and the needs of the businesses that are hiring is changing. So why is it so important for not only these children of immigrants that we have in our school district to find their voice, but to welcome them and learn how to work with them. And, I always, I still watch the movie Gung Ho all the time that you showed with Michael Keaton, which obviously it's a dramatized, fictionalized account of international relations, but there is a lot of truth in the way the Americans work with the Japanese in that movie.
Well, honestly, I think we would be so much closer to world peace, right? If everybody knew people from somewhere else and had an opportunity to learn about them and understand them and appreciate their culture. And that's a nice idea. It's also a very practical idea because, as you know, right, it doesn't matter where you're located in this country or anywhere else in the world. You're going to be working with people who are different from you, who have different backgrounds and experiences. They're still from the United States. They can have very different backgrounds and experiences. And you have to be going back to what we talked about before. You got to be able to work with everybody, even if you don't like them. But your customers are going to be from all over the world. The suppliers are going to be from all over the world. Probably half the products that we buy that we think of as American products have in some way been touched by someone in another country. And so it's just critical. But the truth of the matter is too that the great thing about experiencing people from other places, and I bet you've experienced this with your Uber riders from all those different countries, because they see the world differently, they help you see the world differently, and you can come up with better solutions to problems. You can come up with better products. You can, right? There's all of a sudden there's all these things that become possible because you see things differently that otherwise would have never been possible.
Absolutely. And, people of different cultures have different tastes as consumers. And if you have
Yeah.
everybody's voice at the table, it's amazing how much more people you can reach. And, and we're a rural community here. So I understand these kids have grown up in a bubble. There, a lot of them are sheltered, and it's not their fault. You can't help where you're born. But going to places like TCU or LSU or, we have Jackson State, the great HBCU here in Jackson that has students from all over the world. That's part of the college experience. That's part of education, is getting to work with other people. And I always laugh when I was at LSU. That was the coolest thing to me. That was the first time in my life I'd ever worked with anybody from Sweden. That's the first time I ever worked with anybody from Cameroon. That was the first time I ever worked from anybody from Australia. So getting to meet all those different people was such a great experience, and that's part of the networking aspect of college.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I do have some questions from the students,
Okay.
and these are really good. Okay, this is a good one to start off with. This is Derek Mitchell. He's in ninth grade. And he asked, if I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I did not have the desire to go to college, what would be some ways that I could still start my own business?
So here's the great thing about entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs want everybody to be an entrepreneur. They are almost evangelical in their love of entrepreneurship. And I don't know what it's like there in Jackson, but in most places where you have a reasonably sized city, town, that if there's an entrepreneurial community, they are going to welcome in anybody to that community, and they have lots of resources that are free, that are there to help people start their own businesses and be successful in their own businesses. And so wherever you are, I would say just Google the name of your place and entrepreneurship, maybe incubator, something like that, and just see what comes up. And then go to those places and talk to people, and you will be amazed at the resources that will be available to you.
Absolutely. I like this one. This is Caden Williams, member of our state championship powerlifting team and our football team here at Velma Jackson. He asked, when you're getting ready to speak, how do you rehearse it, and do you get nervous? Because we've seen you've had some big time guests there in the last few months.
Okay, I'm gonna be totally honest with you guys. I am an introverted person. When I was in seventh grade, they made me take a speech class, and I thought I was going to throw up every single day before I went into that class. But you know what? In school, they make you keep presenting, right? And you eventually get used to it and feel really comfortable with it. And so I am very comfortable. I actually really like speaking in front of people now. And part of it is just years and years of practice. But I'll tell you what I used to do. So I would literally write my script out. Like if I had to do a presentation, I would write the whole script out. And then I would practice it over and over and over again until I could deliver it without notes and do it with a tone of voice that sounded like I was just kind of making it up on the fly, like that it wasn't this super rehearsed kind of thing.
Yeah,
But all that practice is what got me to the point where I could just stand up in front of people and talk and be comfortable with it,
absolutely. Yeah, and I agree. Anytime you're going to speak, it is a good idea to at least practice it.
for sure.
All right, now this is Rondell Ellis. He's also in ninth grade, and I know you're in the interim role as the dean, and you really are ready to get back to your old role. But he asked, even though you've changed roles, what do you enjoy most about your job now?
Um, that's a good question. Okay, so honestly, because this time of year, I get to like it reminds me especially of this because I get to go to all of these end of semester presentations or these events that are honoring students that have accomplished something unique and special. And the thing I like best about what I do is, there's a lot of negativity in this world. Um, but I go to these events and I see these students and I see how smart they are and I see how motivated they are. I see what good hearts they have. And I walk out of those rooms and I go, okay, the world is going to be all right. I feel confident about that. And yeah, so that's what I love being able to see these people that are going to make our world all right.
Absolutely. And I've lost count. Because especially when kids are 14, 15 years old, they're like, man, I don't need any of this crap. I have lost count of the amount of kids that have come back and said, man, I wish I'd have paid attention when you talked about that. In fact, some of the siblings of the ones that are here now have actually done that. So, it'll be them soon. This is Rihanna Kelly. She's in ninth grade, and she asked, when something gets hard and you have to solve something, how do you deal with obstacles?
Mhm. Well, there's all different kinds of obstacles. And I would say that the obstacles that I deal with now most frequently. So, as interim dean, I lead a college of about 3,000 students, undergraduate students, 500 graduate students, about 120 faculty, and maybe 75 staff.
Wow.
So, that's a lot of people. And as you
Yeah.
can imagine, all those people do not all want to go the same direction. And so I feel like my obstacles most often these days are in people that want to, right? They're not on board with the direction I want the college to go in. And that's not necessarily a bad thing that they're not on board because I certainly don't have all the answers. And so, but when that's my obstacle, that it takes time and effort, but in some ways it's an easy obstacle to overcome because what you need to do is talk to people and listen and let them have a voice. And then when they have a good idea, which often they do, right? They can make other ideas better. If you can incorporate that, then you end up in a better place than you started out with. And you've gotten these people on board, and now they're not obstacles anymore. They're there and ready to support you.
Yeah, but you said a key word there that made me think about something. You said about the amount of effort it takes. Something you even put in your syllabus is that sometimes effort isn't what helps you make the grade you want. So a lot of times you have all that effort, you still come up short. You got to come up with a new strategy, and that's part of business and that's part of life. But I always thought that was so funny. That was in your syllabus that
But
having
it
a
still
lot of effort
is.
will not necessarily mean you will make an A in this class.
Yep.
So I
Can
think
I
that's
just add
important for
something to that though? I think a
yeah.
lot of times students think the students who get the most out of the class are the ones who get the best grade. And that's also not always true either. A lot of times it's the students that really had to struggle through the class who come out really having gained something more worthwhile.
Absolutely. And I told them they didn't believe me. because I was the graduate assistant of intramurals at LSU. So I would be getting home around 11:30, 12 every night. I would have to read for a couple of hours of what we were going to talk about in class the next day. We had a 9 o'clock class, and I was there, and it was it was a lot harder than people realize. And then if you forgot a Scantron, it was another 10 points off the test. So it was very difficult to keep up with that. But the amount of knowledge I gained from that, even though I didn't make an A and wasn't going to make an A, no matter how hard I tried, I still got a lot out of it. And I've used a lot of those things still now, even though I'm not paying people, I still have a lot of the same principles.
Yeah.
All right, I got time for one more. This is Precious Blackman. And she asked, and she's in ninth grade, she goes, is your career more or less overwhelming now than it used to be because you've changed roles?
More overwhelming. So when when I had Greg in class, right, I was an assistant professor, and my primary job was to teach and to do research. And the great thing about that is okay, there is right, it is true about college professors, right? We teach X number of classes per week, but then the rest of the time, our time is our own. And so if I wanted to do all my work from midnight to 6 in the morning, I could do that as long as I was there to teach my classes during the day. And so right, my I felt like a lot of my time was my own then. But when you move into a role like a dean role, your time is everybody else's time, really. And I have days where I'm in meetings literally back to back from 8 to 5. And then I've got an event in the evening that I have to go to. And then on Saturday, I'm like, okay, now I have to go back and respond to those 4 million emails that came in during the week that I didn't have time to respond to. So it is very overwhelming. And I am looking forward to going back to a little less overwhelming role at the end of this
Yeah.
summer.
Well, it's going to be, I mean, it's still a great resume builder for you. But yeah, it's just like, it's one of those things. It's cool to say you did it, but it's not something you want to do for a long time.
And maybe someday I do. I don't know. I'm not there yet. I have a 14-year-old daughter, and I don't want to go off and right just leave her to fend for herself. Well, I'm doing all this dean stuff. But
Yeah.
so yeah, maybe someday. It's not the right thing for me now, but it's been so rewarding, and I'm so glad that I've gotten to have the opportunity to do it.
Absolutely. Well, and all the things you've gotten has been just more than well deserved. And we're almost out of time. And we thank you so much for taking some time out of your incredibly busy schedule to speak to us. And one of the most and I thought it was cool. You're the first former teacher I've had on here. One of the most influential people in my life, and I've always thanked you for that. And what you're able to do there in Texas is just so rewarding, and it's so important for the business community. And obviously, all of our kids can't go to Texas to go to school, but why should they really consider getting into this field, whether it be on the teaching side, on the business side, and why are these skills so important as they transition through high school into their next step?
Here's the great thing about education and business is there are many opportunities for people to do both. So don't feel like if you think, oh, I might want to be a college professor, don't think, oh, I have to go out and get my PhD first thing, right? Go out and get your associate's degree, get your bachelor's degree, do some work, and then decide if you want to do that. And a lot of times you can still go back to a university and teach just based on your professional experience that you've had. So, right, there's many opportunities to do both. I think the great thing about a business degree of any kind is that it's a very, right, it's a pretty sure thing in terms of achieving financial security. Employers hire business students, they just do. So your
Yeah.
chances of getting a job are good if you have a business degree, and then that's going to open up even further opportunities. And then when you're super successful, you go back and you teach and you give back to those that are coming after you.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And again, I don't think these kids realize how lucky they are that they have somebody easy like me and not hard like you teaching the class. But again, just so many great things you're doing, and I'd encourage everybody to check out the website there, the Neeley School of Business, just to see an idea. And you guys do a great job of showing the curriculum, the types of classes you would have, and really the skills that are needed for the business world. But again, we know you're really busy, and we thank you so much for taking some time. This is such an honor for me. Dr. Hettie Richardson, Interim Dean of the Neeley
It
School
was
of Business,
absolutely my
all the way,
pleasure.
all the way in Fort Worth, Texas. Thank you so much for joining us. It's just unbelievable pleasure for me.
Thank you. And Greg's one of my favorite students ever.
I appreciate it. I will talk to you soon, my friend.
All right. See you later. Bye,
I
everyone.
see you. See ya.